Have you ever played a game and immediately thought, this game was made for me? That pretty much sums up my time with Silent Hope, which dropped a demo before its release date on October 3rd. I am pretty much a sucker for dungeon crawling loot-based action RPGs, and that is basically what we have here. It gave me original Diablo vibes. You have just one hub you return to, and your goal is to continue to dive further and further into the depths of this abyss, getting better loot to get stronger to dive deeper. Silent Hope starts by telling you about a king that somehow stole all the words of the world, and then he hurled himself into what seems like a bottomless abyss, never to be seen again. The princess then started crying about this, and her crying lasted 100 straight years, until her tears actually encased her into a crystal teardrop. Long after this happened, one day 7 colored lights flew out from the abyss, and then suddenly, for some reason, 7 travelers showed up to the crystal that was sitting on the edge of the abyss. After they arrived, the princess's voice called out to them and asked them to try to help them find the king in the abyss. I'm gonna start out with my one negative on this game. For a game that's all about losing voices and literally called Silent Hope, the princess will just not stop talking. She doesn't do it much in the dungeons themselves unless she has story points, but while you're in camp, she's relentless. And she comments on everything and repeats a lot of lines even in my short time with the demo. Luckily though, there is an option that looks like you can disable this and only have her speak any new lines once. But if a Chatty Princess is the worst I've got out of this demo, I think Silent Hope's in a pretty good place so far. So with that out of the way, let's get into everything I actually loved about the demo. Silent Hope has 7 classes to choose from. You pick one and go into the Abyss, and while you're in the Abyss, you can actually change them out to another class through these crystals, which also act as a way back to the surface. The classes are your standard fare like Archer, Mage, Warrior, and Rogue, although they do have one called Farmer, which I actually found pretty amusing since that's literally what you're doing in this game. You're farming the depths for material and gear. I of course went with the obvious choice, the dual-wielding Rogue in a maid outfit. Each class has their own 3 skills that you unlock and power up by skill points you acquire by leveling up. Also, while not available in the demo, it seems you can eventually choose a subclass as well to unlock another 3 skills. You also have the option to reset your skills, which is nice, and it seems like it's zero cost to do so, so you can just kind of play around with whatever skills you want and see what works for you. As you make your way through each level of the Abyss, you'll fight monsters and collect resources. The levels themselves seem to be broken up into 5 floors each before you hit some kind of mid-boss or main boss, at which point they'll give you what they call a signal fire you can use to return to that point in the Abyss. One of my early concerns with the game was that it seemed a little easy, but the difficulty and the on-screen enemy count does ramp up after level 5. They also start offering trials at the beginning of the floors that are kinda like mini quests to do before leaving that actual floor to get some random resources. You'll also stumble across these gates called memory rifts, which contain even more difficult monsters, but better loot if completed. But you need to be careful because if you die, you will drop some of your loot. So if you're holding something you might want to take back to town, it's best to consider if it's worth pushing on or not. So speaking of loot, while wandering the dungeon you'll find resources that you'll need to craft weapons and food back at camp. From monsters and chests, you'll also find resources as well, plus you'll find these equipment scrolls that are called mementos, which are basically crafting recipes. You'll also find food recipes, gems with stats that you can socket into your gear, and runes, which is basically the money of the game. When you're in the main camp, you have 6 different stations, one that crafts and upgrades weapons from your mementos, and one that can cook dishes from the recipes you find. The other 4 are used to create the materials needed to make said weapons and food from the resources you found in the dungeons. These materials can take time, so you basically make an order and then go into the dungeon and continue fighting while they finish. It will give you a message when it's done so you can decide if you want to go back to camp or not, and you can also pay or use an item called Sands of Time to instantly complete them, but in the demo I never found the need to do so. Once you have the materials you need, you can craft the equipment or food instantly. Equipment seems to fall into your standard colored rarity that you see in almost every game like this. If you want to change out your gear, you do have to do that at the storehouse and camp. It is also from there that you can slot in gems into your equipment that have gem slots to enhance them further with stats like increased run speed, attack speed, more damage, and things like that. You can also desynthesize items in your storehouse that you no longer need to get upgrade parts or cash. The upgrade parts can be used on your equipment to increase their power. The Great Crystal in the camp is where you can actually appraise mementos if needed, eventually changing your class and also get more cash and resources by completing the missions that they present. Once done in camp, you head back to the edge of the abyss, you pick the food you want to bring with you, which will add more stats to your characters, then pick the signal fire to start at and do it all over again. The game itself goes for a cuter art style overall, but it looks really nice and the colors really pop. Sounds and music all seem good enough so far. The princess's voice is also really well done, just like I said earlier, it can get to be a little much in camp when she just throws out random comments everywhere. While it is always hard to judge the full value of a game from a demo, I think they did a really good job of presenting the loop you're going to be going through during the course of your time with Silent Hope. I have no idea what other reviewers will make of Silent Hope, but for me, that is really what drives home how good the current trend of demos that are allowing you to continue where you ended in the main game. It is a game that piqued my interest during a Nintendo Direct, but I wasn't sure what to expect overall. They dropped this demo, I try it, and I thought it was great, and we'll pick it up for when it releases. Good job, Marvelous, you got me. Have you tried the Silent Hope demo? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching and look forward to more videos from Switchover in the future.